Thank you for listening to Depictions Media Radio. As business owners, we all know how hard it is to find funds and find the right funds to put together the right products, to find the right teams, so that we can create the right services to help our customers. And I'll be honest with you, here at Depictions Media, it isn't really that much different. You would think that, oh yeah, Michael, we got sponsors, we got all kinds of money coming in, but when we comes down to time to create maybe a new product, like it's the rumors out there that we're working on a audiobook product so that we can help spread the word about exciting authors and exciting coaches to have inspiring stories, and they put it into their book, and we want to get that out there. Well, we have to take from other budgets and everything to find a way to create these products, to create new shows, those sort of things, so that we keep you, our audience, entertained and informed. Well, sometimes we look for funds from alternative places. Well, one of the best places to find those alternative funds, and they're free funds, is from the government themselves. And there are grants for all sorts of things out there. And we're going to talk with Val McCarty today, and she is a grant writer, and she's going to tell us how easy it is, if you're working with the right group of people, to find free money for your business. So, why don't we welcome Val to the show, find out her story, and listen close so that we can find ways to find free money from the government yet. How about that? Pretty exciting. So why don't we get started with Val and welcome her to the show. So, welcome to the show, Val, and we're all excited to hear about free money. So, how the heck did you get started finding free money? And how did you hear about it?
Go ahead.
And how did you hear about it?
Yes, how did we hear about it? Good question. So, for number one, thank you for allowing me to share my story. This is quite a fun thing for me to do. I'm quite excited. And hoping I can help some listeners out there with their funding needs. So Stephen and I had worked together a few years back. I was selling a SaaS product. SaaS, of course, means software as a service.
Mm-hmm.
And I came across, we met through an Alberta networking group. And one thing led to another. He became my business mentor. I was new to selling. I'm not really a salesperson. I like to share things that I'm crazy about, but I'm not really a salesperson. And he was my mentor through that sales process and got to know the SaaS product I was selling quite well as well. And then the SaaS product, where they were changing and updating a few things in the background, they also had someone interested in purchasing them. And there was a bunch of things that just sort of came all at once. And the best thing they thought to do is, well, let's just talk to the investor, do these updates on the software, and not bother looking for more clients, right? So my job was sort of just put on hold for a little while. And Stephen said, hey, Val, since you're not doing that, let's team up together and see if we can help startups. Because Stephen and I both know what it's like to be in that lonely, scary world of being a startup, right? You don't know where the next paycheck's coming from. You might have a view of your pipeline, but it's still kind of scary. It's like, okay, are they going to pay? Are they not going to pay? Where's my, 6 months down the way, where is what's going to be in my pipeline? Mm-hmm. And so it's not an easy road. I think entrepreneurs, hats off to them, because it's a little bit like farming. You have to gamble a little bit, right? I think farmers are the ultimate gamblers. But mm-hmm. That aside, so we decided to help startups, and so we basically created our own business to help startups. A funny story about the name of our business, Steval. It's actually called Steval Tech now. We're in the process of changing our name a wee bit. But Stephen, of course, is my business partner. My name's Val. And we thought, hey, let's take STE and VAL, put them together and create a name. Wow, that's so cool. Steval, okay? Then we go and do the whole incorporation thing and looking for a name, and realize that it's also a very common last name for a lot of people. So here we thought we had something original, and no. But that didn't stop us. We ended up finding something that worked. So, but very, very happy to work with Stephen Labor. He's a fantastic business partner. And we together were affiliates for a couple of grant platforms that are out there. Fantastic platforms. We're still affiliates of them. And somebody kept asking us, well, great, you have this affiliate work, but do you write grants yourself? And we had been asked enough times, we sort of thought, you know what, we should look into this. And so we investigated what it would take to become certified as a grant writer, which school to go to, which would be the best return on investment, that kind of thing. And we found one, and months later, I became certified as a grant writer. New information, wonderful information was had. Didn't realize the journey that it takes to look for grants, to vet out grants, and then to finally apply for them. And that was the fun part. It's a lot of work, but we enjoy it. And it's one way of helping out our clients to find out what their projects are and see if we can find a grant that matches what they're trying to do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I'll fix that. So, because I wouldn't even know, to be totally honest with you, and grants in our particular industry, film and media and everything, would help out tremendously. But I wouldn't even begin to know how to apply for them, where to look for them. Well, step one is you got to find where to apply, and then know how to apply, right? It's like,
you betcha.
So I remember from university, applying for grant money that way, but it's kind of not always the same process, is it? Because the schools that was the one that handed me, or go apply here.
You betcha. So the school more than likely had a list of grants that were available to students. Mm-hmm. And there are many grant databases out there. They're all subscription based, which makes sense. It's how that business makes its money. We'll go and find grants, list them for you, and then you can research them, right? It makes sense. Some of the grant platforms, the database platforms, have a little bit more bells and whistles that go along with it, specifically geared to grant writers. So in the process of research, you're either searching federal, provincial, municipal, or organizational type grants. These are usually government initiatives that, a government says we want to help women in business. And so they create funds that are available for people to apply, which is basically a grant. And so the databases collect all that information from all these different entities, make it available. Yeah, they are subscription based, and some of them ask a lot of money for their subscription. But the bells and whistles they give are a lot of project management tools that grant writers can use to keep all of that information stored and organized. So it's easy to go, if you have 4 clients and you're all looking for different projects, that's a lot of different information and a lot of spinning plates, right? Yeah. So some of these databases actually give you a way to keep it all organized, which is fantastic. Mm-hmm. There's a few free ones too for people that are listening. You can go on the Canadian government website. There's something called the Business Benefits Finder. And it does take a little bit of work, and you'll need some uninterrupted time and some brain time. Do you know what I mean? So you have to sort of get yourself ready mentally. They'll ask a few questions to qualify you and your business and your projects, and then they come up with benefits that could be available to you through the government. It's one way of doing it. There are other platforms where you can create a membership to. One of them is pocketed.ai. You can find it online as hellopocketed.ai. They're pretty good too. That's who we're affiliates with. Our affiliate link gives you the basic membership, which is $29 USD per month. Fantastic platform. You can search by yourself. It does take time and effort, but if you have the time and effort and want to do a DIY, it's a fantastic website. It's really, really good. I highly recommend it. And what was your other question?
Actually, I think you covered most of what I was asking about.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Because you're segueing yourself right into where I want this to go, because one of the reasons why. Okay, I'm going to tell some background secrets here. As a business owner, I'm part of very many networking groups in our local area, and some of them stretch across Canada. Some of them stretch across the United States and Canada, and some of them are just simply global networks that we belong to in order to network and get projects out there, right? Different films and podcasts, what have you. But so I met you through one of those networks that you're not even local. Because it's local here, but it wasn't local for you, and it was a 1 degree off meeting through another friend of mine who brought you into our network, and and when you started talking about free money for projects, is like, well, I knew that there was grants out there for film, and then you answered the question about helping the film industry. I was like, yeah. I'm like, yay! I was like, thank you, God, you sent me money. And that's exactly how excited I was to actually meet you. And then you got to meet our team, and you seemed to be fitting right in. So it's like, okay. But for me to actually take time away from an editing project, or take a time away from something I need to go outside the office and film or photograph, that's to take time away from that also takes away revenue.
Yes.
In which case, it's very risky to go search for grants and apply for the grants when I am actually losing revenue to go apply for those grants, when it's a lot easier if I'm to turn to a grant writer like yourself, and who actually does the research and everything. You're already available to do all that, and it's less revenue loss for me.
You betcha. And we already have the subscriptions to the databases, right?
Yeah.
And the experience of using the databases to search for different projects. So yeah, it's that's one of the things I learned in my course when I was taking it. There's almost a idea out there that needs to be demystified, and that is the research for the grants. A lot of people expect others to volunteer their time to do it. And I kind of think, well, just like you said, in your own business, would you volunteer your time, take away time, revenue generating time from your business to go look for grants? You know, why would you think someone would volunteer their time to do that, right? Everyone wants to get paid for their hard work. And it is hard work. It's like going down into a deep, dark hole of information that you just have to sort through. So I can remember doing my very first grant search, searching for one particular project for one particular client, and there was 533 grant possibilities that came up. So I'm thinking, 533, how long is this going to take me? Because you actually have to read the grant, read the specifications. Each grant funder, as it were, has specifics on who they want to give that grant money to in terms of that business, and also how they want to see that money spent, which makes sense. You know, it is free money. You got to work for it.
But it's still their money, even though it's free. It's still their money.
Exactly, it's their money, and they have each grant is different unto itself. So there's no sort of one cookie cutter grant out there. They're all a little different. They all have their own specifications. And that's where the workload comes in. You have to read their specifications and all the fine print and make sure that your project is going to align with what they're looking for.
Yeah. Now, see, that's also very different than the school grants. Like as a student, because you fill in one piece of paper to file it back with the government, and then they find, and they're like, oh, you qualify for this, and this.
Yes. Yeah. And it's built differently to aid you in that process. So they're almost pre-vetted, right? The school has come out with, hey, we know that you'd qualify at least, 60, 80% for these. Here's Adam. You go and do a little bit of work and see if you can apply for them. So they're almost pre-vetted grants that they've given you already. Yeah. Yeah. So
this process is very different from that, and you actually have to vet each grant out yourself, right?
Yes, we do. Yeah. And before the best thing to do if you find a grant that you think is really super matched to your product or project, the great thing to do is to contact the funder ahead of the application. So you've read the application, you've read all the fine print, you think, hey, this is a complete match, this is awesome. If you have any kind of inkling of any kind of question, because if you've, where I'm going with this is the funders are also ready to say no. If they've got 300 people applying and only 15 grants that they can win, right? They're going to look for, okay, who can I say no to right off the bat? So if you really think you've got a match, we create something called a prospectus. It's a one-page paper of who I am, who I serve, what I need to get funded, and why it matters so much. So the fun thing is to contact that funder ahead of time, send them this prospectus, and then when you actually meet with them to answer a couple of questions that you might not be quite sure on in terms of setting up your application, then they know you. They see this one pager. They have at a glance, they kind of know what you're all about. They've met with you. It's like just breaking the ice, and getting to know that funder a little bit, so that when your application does come through, it's kind of, oh, hey, I met with these guys. I know what they're all about. They're pretty legit. Okay, let's put them on the first intake file. Do you know what I mean? Like, to see if they're And so it is a process. It's a long process. It takes a little bit of time. It's free money, but it's not quick money, but it's still free money. You know, if you apply for something, and even if you hire somebody to apply for a grant for you, and in that application process, the sum total happens to be $2,000, but you're getting a grant of $10,000, well, it's still $8,000 that you didn't have before, right? So it's still worth it. It's worth it to invest in someone who will do that work for you, contract it out, like we contract almost, a lot of things out, right?
Yeah.
Contract that person out, get the work done properly, and you have a better chance of winning the grant.
Yeah. Yeah, because I was going to, like you said, if somebody's got 15 grants and they got, say, 500 applicants, it was like, well, they got to say no how many times, right? I'm not going to sit here and do the arithmetic on that, but you think about that.
You betcha. And their brains are so wired to spot the, oh, no, this is unclear, out. Do you know what I mean? They're so geared to find those no's. It's kind of like the lions, or not the lions, dragon's den. When people go in asking for money, it's a little bit different because these are funders or investors rather than grant funders. But it's still the same kind of thing. Somebody has some money they'd like to invest, and they're trying to figure out whether you're the best person to invest it with, right? Yeah. Or if your project is actually going to satisfy the need in society that they have figured this is why that initiative is there. Yeah. So yeah, it's worth putting the time and effort into really getting all your ducks in a row and everything set up so that you can just wow them in that application and have all of the ducks or ducks in a row, but all of the check marks checked so that when they try to find those no's, they can't.
Right. Because the other thing I was thinking about, and I don't know how true this is, but it's true in a lot of ways in business, that if the message of your project doesn't match the message of the grant, you're...
Yeah. Yep, and that makes sense.
And that makes sense, too. So you want to make sure, if you're doing it yourself, you got to make sure that if the grant offer, you got to know what their message is about, what it is that they're about, and that's another layer of research that you have to do, just in that.
Yes, know your funder, know their language,
Yeah.
If they tend to refer to certain things in a certain way, know that language and know how to attract either the attention of the reader, or if they're using some sort of AI. Nowadays, everybody's using AI. They would stack their AI to look for certain phrases, right? Or certain particular words. And so you just have to know that.
Yeah. Yeah. So again, leading me back to, it's like, if we were to do the strength weakness analysis test, it's like, if you're an absolute startup, and you don't have that pipeline filling up, then yeah, sure, DIY your grant, it sounds wonderful.
Gotcha.
But if you have something that's going to be a little more established and everything, then maybe it's best to look for the Val McCartys in the world, and or the Steval Technologies, right? yeah, Steval Tech, yeah, and the Steve Labors of the world. Yeah, there's a few of us out there. What I'd really like to do on a little sideline here is connect with all the Canadian grant writers. Canadian grants work a little different than U.S. grants, and I think it's because who gives the grants mostly? The governments. And so the U.S. government runs a little bit differently administratively than it does in Canada, right? Mm-hmm. So applying for them, there's different terminologies and that type of thing. Also, when our listeners are searching for grant writers, a lot of grant writers have chosen to specialize in a particular type of grant, whether that's media grants or grants for nonprofits in serving children or whatever. A lot of them have decided to specialize because it is such a rigorous process of application if you want to get it right. Some of these grants are worth a lot of money. So
definitely, I think LinkedIn, if you were on LinkedIn and searched grant writers, it would probably filter through and find them for you.
Yeah.
But yeah, and there's different provinces in Canada. So there's, like I mentioned, there was federal grants, provincial grants, and municipal grants. Provincially, BC is rich in grants. The governments are really putting a lot of money out there in their initiatives to help the community. Ontario is another province that is rich in grants. Alberta has its own. Alberta is very much innovation, technological innovation.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's really where a lot of their initiatives lie. So BC is fantastic for film and arts. Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Well, some of that. How does that work though? Because, all right, yes, we are in British Columbia, and you're in Alberta actually, and I know because we're also a journalist group that it makes sense. The oil and gas industry is so strong there, and they're looking for ways to actually be cleaner and to make sure that, hey, if we're going to transition away from mining the tar sands, that we want to make sure that we can still keep our employees, keep our people working, and it kind of makes sense. So why not look for innovative, offer grants for innovation to help keep those kind of things going, So that makes sense, And you said about arts, and BC is full of artists in
and it's so
film
known
industry.
For it. Yeah, it's so known for it. BC builds good artists.
Yeah. So
yeah.
The area that we actually, that Depictions Media is actually centralized in, we're coined Hollywood North.
Nice.
So, and for those people who are actually in the film and entertainment industry, they know exactly why I say that and what all that means. I don't want to get too much into prices and stuff like that, because, it can be kind of misleading, and I don't want to mislead people. I want people to go and take the next step and go looking, right? So, and hopefully you'll go look for Val and our partner Steven, and because you guys can actually write both. If I remember correctly, you can write grants for anywhere in Canada, and then there's certain industries and everything that you can do in the United States also, right?
We can. We choose not to. It's got to do with that specialty. Just because the United States, they municipally, state-wise, and federally, they just run their grants a little differently. And to give the best service possible, we use affiliates for U.S. grants. Perhaps in time, I will be a specialist in U.S. grants as well as Canadian grants, but right now, I would prefer to use my affiliate links for U.S. grants. Yeah.
Well, so there's more to this than actually just blanketly searching for a grant. It sounds like there's a strategy that has to go along with this.
There certainly is. And so you want to find those grants that not only fit your project, like we talked about before, and that you fit all of their requirements of the grant, but you also want to look and see, okay, if I fit all the requirements, this sounds really good. How many people in the past have applied, and how many people have won? Is it 300 to 10? Or is it 30 to 10? I think I'd rather want to put my time and effort into an application where I know there's 30 people going for 10 wins rather than 300 people going for 10 wins. Do you know what I mean? Your chances of winning are just better.
Yeah.
And so we have a formula where we like to, when we're vetting out grants, we like to look and see how many people have applied in the past and how many people have won. Also, most government grants list those who have won in the past. Sometimes they even list or you can find the old applications that won. And so it's kind of fun to read those old applications that won and say, oh, so this is one that's won before. What did they do different than my application? And also, if you've applied and not won, it's great if you do have that relationship with the funder, like I mentioned with that prospectus before. You can also reach out to them and say, how come we didn't win? What wasn't right? What was your no excuse? Right? What did you look at in my application that said, nope, let's not use them this time? And then you have a chance of fixing it. So, and that's the beauty of grants too. They're not just a one-time deal. They repeat themselves often because initiatives repeat themselves, right? Like I know for the Canadian government has been trying to help, say, women in business or women of visible minorities in business for quite some time. So those grants that are offered to in those initiatives, they'll repeat themselves. And so, yeah, if you don't win it the very first time, try again, find out why, and try again. It's a lot of work, but hey, like we said, it's free money.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, yeah.
Free means we don't have to pay it back. Free doesn't mean that you don't have to work for it.
Exactly. You still have to wait for it, and because of course you are working with the governments, although we love our government because it gives us a lot of stuff, but they work on their own time schedule, right? So yeah, it's not quick money. There are some grants out there. One that just comes to mind right now, and it's Canada-wide. It's called an Amber Grant for women, and they're always looking for new intakes, and they're always looking for new stories. And they, I think, on a monthly basis, there's a $10,000 grant that just sort of comes out. They have little grants. They've got a $2,000 one, a $7,000, and a $10,000. And sometimes we call it the low-hanging fruit. Sometimes you can just send an application and boop, you won, and all of a sudden you've got $2,000 to spend on your project, right? So it is worth looking into those smaller grants and the easier ones to apply for often as well.
Yeah.
They just want a good story. They want a compelling story and what elements in the world, what problems are you solving, and why it's important, and the benefit to the community. That's what they really like to see.
Well, that's an important thought. Think about how our project is going to benefit the community, and if you can play that up.
You betcha.
Yeah. So
yeah.
So how deep when you build a strategy, how many layers down do you actually go to help your clients get there?
Quite a few, as many as it takes to set them up for success. That's our whole idea, is to set up our clients for success. So by the time we've given them a funding strategy, we've given them that prospectus I talked about, we've given them a toolkit, and all the toolkit is finding out information budget-wise, story-wise, anything that I think our clients would need in order to apply for any particular grant. All those little pieces are put into the toolkit. Mm-hmm. And so that sets up our clients for success. Then we give them this list of our vetted grants, hopefully a 12 to 18 month view into the future as to what grants they should apply for as their projects progress. Because sometimes a project starts off with, well, we want to hire a marketing and salesperson. And then next thing you know, they do that, they find an internship grant of some kind. Then that leads to more sales. Well, now they have product improvements to make, or now they want to start going to trade shows. So the grant that helped them with their business and helped them springboard their business forward, now they're looking for a grant to go to trade shows, because there's some out there as well. So it's a view of your projects and almost strategically where you want to go in your business for the 12 to 18 month view into the future. And then once we give them that prospectus, toolkit, and funding strategy, it's theirs to use. They can write the grants themselves. They can find another grant writer. There's more grants out there than there are grant writers. And each grant writer has their own kind of, like anything, some of them have been doing this for years and years and years, and some of them are just starting out like myself. So they each have their own level of experience and, of course, their own fee schedule.
Yeah. Well, you're saying like they're just starting out like yourself, but you've had a lot of experience in helping businesses achieve success and
Yes,
helping them
yes,
build strategies towards that success. So
yeah.
I want
It's
people to
great.
understand it's like no, you're not new to business. You're very much so a seasoned veteran and an
Yeah.
entrepreneur. So.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. But our main goal is if we can set that business up for future success, then we've done our job.
Yeah.
And then too, because you're one of our clients, and I'm sure a lot of other grant writers do this as well. If we're searching for grants for client, B, and you've just been our client A, and all of a sudden there's this new grant that comes up, and client A, I didn't know about this grant, and all of a sudden we can send it to you and say, hey, it looks like it fits on first level. Check it out and see if you can use something. So we've always got our clients in the back of our minds as to how can we benefit them in the future.
Yeah.
It's like most client customer relations. It's an ongoing thing.
Mm-hmm. So, because for us, we also do a lot of work for charities because hey, the charity needs that project. One to keep in mind is we're building a stage for one particular charity that we can have inspirational speakers come in, and when we sell the tickets, but the hitch was that we got to build the stage. Well, it takes cash to build the stage.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, who's going to come up with that cash now?
Mm-hmm.
But we can. You said I remember this in one of the meetings that we had, networking meetings that we both were at. That you said that one of the strategies, and it's a good strategy if you're a service provider like we are, that bring the person who needs the service so that they can with their project and then help them get it, and then the service provider gets the benefit of the money, right?
You betcha, yeah. And that's a wonderful partnership. There are more grants out there for nonprofits than there are for for-profit businesses.
Mm-hmm.
But for-profit businesses often have the services available that the nonprofits need. So if a nonprofit were to apply for a grant, they've got, go back to your story, they've got this wonderful idea that's going to help the community in having people use the stage and, do what they want to do out for the community, but they need the stage built. So they apply for a grant under being a nonprofit. Okay, we need to build this stage. Gives them the money to build the stage, then they go and find a service provider that will then build the stage. So if you can partner with a nonprofit and you be the service provider and they be the person that actually obtains the grant, then both of you, it's a win-win. Actually, it's a win-win three ways, because then the community gets benefited because, the story comes to fruition. So it's a good thing to do.
Yeah. So I'm just saying that there's a lot of different ways to look at it, right?
Oh yeah, definitely. And even stacking grants. I know we went back to this Pocketed, who we're affiliates with. They're so good at teaching about grants, and they did a webinar on stacking grants. So particularly hiring grants. So some grants you can actually stack them federally and provincially. And not all grants, but sometimes you can. And that's where you have to sort of know the grants, know the landscape, know all of the fine-tune writing and fine printing on all the grants. But no, you can stack them. You can use some grants to use that money for other grants. So here's an example. In the class that I took, one of her stories were they had a big project that they were working on. It was a nonprofit. They were able to obtain a grant that won them $10,000 towards this project. Another grant they wanted to go for was a matched grant. And a matched grant means you have to put some money forward in order for them to, and then they'll match it. So they actually used this grant of $10,000 for the matching grant. That was their money that they were going to use to match with. It was all legitimate, and they actually won. They won the bigger grant. And the match was, I think it was 60-40. So they only had to put in so much money, and they've got so much more money back. So yeah, there's different strategies within the grant world.
Yeah.
To help you along.
Yeah. All the more reason to hire someone like you and Steve to, because I would get confused trying to figure out which way to go with that. It's like
you betcha, yeah.
Bungle the whole damn thing up and wind it with nothing.
yeah. And there's even when you get into, there's a couple of or a couple of grants. One called SHRED. It's Scientific Research and Experimental Design. Mm-hmm. And then another one called IRAP, larger grants. And these grants are so detailed, and you really need to know what you're doing. They're also very competitive, and they get audited by the government as well. So in those larger grants, a lot of times they're applied for by someone with accounting designations or someone really in that field. A lot of lawyers will look after SHRED as well. Yeah. So there's a few grants where we'll say, yeah, that's a wonderful grant. We'll find somebody to do that one for you. There's small, medium, and large grants out there, all with their own requirements and details that need to be met. So, yeah, it's good to know the landscape.
Yeah. So, why do you do grants? What is it that you're trying to achieve for our community by helping businesses find those grants?
Well, right on the website, if you go to stevaltech.ca, there's a little 30-second video that I have out, and there's a statistic that really bothers me, and the statistic is 90% of startups fail. And I remember Stephen and I looking at the statistic and thinking, we got to do something. We got to help, even if we help one startup at a time not fail, then maybe it'll be 89% of startups don't fail. Do you know what I mean? Like, one startup at a time, see what we can do. And sometimes the reason that startups fail, it is sometimes funding. Sometimes it's not having a very good idea of their strategy going forward. Sometimes it's not being connected enough, or they need a particular person to do something and they don't know where to find it. So that's where our idea of our business came around is, well, let's help those startups with whatever resources. Stephen and I have been lucky enough and blessed enough in our past work to accumulate a few people in our Rolodex. And it's our way of giving back to that startup community to say, okay, let's change this statistic somehow. Let's just, one startup at a time, let's make sure that they don't fail in that first year or the first 5 years.
Yeah. Along with that statistic comes our economy, Let's face it, small businesses and startup businesses have a bigger effect on the economy than some of the bigger, more established businesses.
Yes, definitely. So. And it's I love working with startups and entrepreneurs because they've got a dream, they've got an idea. And sometimes all they need is just a few more resources to see that idea through, right? To pitch that idea to an investor or find a grant that will help them or something just to build them to the next step. Yeah. And it's great to be able to help out startups in that respect.
Yeah.
It's an emotional paycheck as well as keeping us in business too, because we everyone is addicted to food and shelter. So, we all need to pay our bills, right? Yeah.
Exactly. What do you want our community to look like in the end? And how does that aid you in your work?
How would I like the community to look like in the end? Oh, awesome question. I would think, I might be a little naive, even at my age, and it might sound a little kind of utopian. I'd really like people to help each other. There's a couple of organizations out that Stephen and I have come across where it's entrepreneurs all helping other entrepreneurs, not to get anything back, but just to give. I know Stephen and I are in Steval Tech. Our mission is not only making it easier for you to do business and helping you find resources to build your business, but we follow some principles from Bob Berg's book. So like our true worth is determined by how much more we give in value than we take in payment. And for compensation, our success is determined by how many people we serve and how well we serve them. And our influence is determined by how abundantly we place other people's interests. And so that's kind of what I'd like to see in the community. Wouldn't it be a terrific community if everybody gave back just a little? Do you know what I mean? Not your whole business. You can't give back your whole business because you have to pay your own bills, right?
Right.
But wouldn't it be great if businesses, if you found someone to mentor, or you were able to do something in even a networking meeting that helped somebody. I can remember being in a networking meeting one time, and we were all talking about immediate needs that we need right now. And somebody mentioned, I need a truck. I have to make these deliveries, and my truck just broke down, and I have to have these deliveries done in 2 days' time, blah, blah, blah. Next thing you know, somebody says, you can use my truck for 2 days. That is a neat community. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that was somebody else in that networking group that said, I can help you out. Even if it's for those 2 days, I can keep those deliveries happening. And, in a sort of utopian kind of way, wouldn't it be nice if we did that as a community?
Yeah.
I can remember another sideline here. I used to, in one of my jobs in the past, I used to run a day home because I have education training. And in the day home, there were a few kids that were really concerned about what they could get, right? And it was Easter, and I thought I'd have an Easter egg hunt. So I hid the eggs everywhere. I had been saving egg cartons for all the kids. Each kid was divvied out their egg carton, but the rule was when you found an egg, you had to put it in somebody else's basket. So it changed the whole focus on, I want to get those eggs for myself, right? And so everybody ended up with 12 eggs each, right? But it was the fun of finding an egg and then finding somebody else's space in their egg carton to put the egg. And so it turned it around. It was others that also helped you because other people were trying to find you with your own, carton to put an egg in there. So it changed it a little bit. It was such a fun thing to do in my day home. And hopefully it helped the kids learn that, yeah, you do. It's great to be able to give back as well as you can't take all the time, right?
Yeah.
So I'll get off my soapbox.
No, that's a good soapbox.
Okay.
So, best ways to find you, work with you.
Definitely, Stephen and I, Stephen Labor. You can find him on LinkedIn. He spells labor Leber, and he spells Stephen with a PH. One joke that he was asked one time, somebody was asking him, how do you spell your name, Stephen? He says, I'm Stephen with a PH. And she asked, well, is that alkali or? So anyway, yeah, Stephen with a PH, Leber on LinkedIn. And then myself, Val McCarty. I'm H-less. So my last name, McCarty, no H in there. I'm H-less. You can find me on LinkedIn as well. And then you can find our business, which is called Steval Tech, Inc.
Yeah.
So Steval and then TECHINC. And in terms of email, empowering startups. So just the word, just like it is, empowering and then startups, no space in between, at stevaltech.ca is our main email.
Awesome. So everybody, go work with Steve and Val. It's like, trust me, they're a lot of fun. I'm sure for those who are just simply listening versus some of our video people, you can actually hear the smile in her voice. It's a lot of fun. And hey, you know what? Val can correct me for saying this. I think Val wants to put as many eggs in each of our baskets as quickly as possible, so that we all can build a better world and a better community.
Oh, that's fantastic. I love that. Yes, I'd love to put eggs in your basket. Yes. Yep, for sure.
Hey, it was your analogy.
Yeah, no, I love it. Absolutely love it. Yeah.
So, all right, everybody, thank you for listening, and please do go check out Steve and Val, and find them on LinkedIn. Go to their website, and it'll be in the show notes. And hey, I'll be honest with you. They are helping us build a grant strategy that is going to help us build many more projects and hire more camera people and everything, so that we can better serve you as a community with more information and inspirational stories. So, click on that subscribe button, and we'll talk to you later.
Help us to
This show has been produced by Depictions Media. Please contact us at depictions.media for more information.